today. Better?
Later.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jacob, and I'm here to tell you my story. I want to begin with the epitaph that was on my grave. It's found in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. It says, "By faith Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshiped as he leaned on the top of his staff." I want you to notice that the greatest event of my life took place when I was dying, blessing my grandsons. I guess you could say my life story, you call it a testimony, it's not so much one, wow, God really used that guy, as a story of a wasted life. I share it with you this morning not to imitate, but to learn from. As you might know, I was born a twin. My brother Esau, he was born first, but I came out holding onto his heel, which would be a symbol of my life. I would never let anyone get a one-up on me. No, I would fight, and I would claw, and I would scratch to get to the top, to be the best, to be recognized, to be successful. Now, we were typical brothers. Thing was, Esau, he was a physical specimen of a man. He was a hunter. Today he would be your starting fullback or power forward. I, not so much. And we fought all the time like brothers. He could beat me up any day of the week, and he often did. But I had other ways of getting even. He was brawn, but I was brain. So I would find sneaky, deceptive ways to beat him at games. Well, actually, I would cheat. He would get so angry, but that was part of the fun. Esau, he had his head in the clouds. All he wanted to do was hunt and fish and play and enjoy God's creation. I, on the other hand, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be top dog, numero uno, number one, the head of the class. And so I would scheme. I remember the day I stole his birthright. He was out hunting, and I knew he would come back tired and weary and worn and hungry. So I prepared a delicious stew. My mom had taught me how to cook, and I was a good cook. And don't you downplay that, because great chefs in the world are men, you know. So, sure enough, he came back from hunting, and he was hungry, and he wanted some of my hearty stew. I said, "You can't have any unless you sell me your birthright." And he went for it. What a loser! He did not realize the value of the birthright, and I did. So Esau would hunt and play. I would scheme. I would claw. I would scratch. I would fight my way to the top. I would get ulcers just to get ahead. Meanwhile, he would just laugh and play and dream. I would fret and scheme and plot and get myself all tied up in knots. And he would just play, enjoy life. And he was a loser. Funny, when you look back on life, you get a different perspective on things. So, enough about Esau. Let me tell you about Dad. Dad, you know him as Isaac. He was old and feeble and weak, basically clueless, nearly blind. And I was the typical teenage son. By the time I was 16, I knew everything. And Dad, well, Dad was an oaf. Or so I thought. Funny how later on he became much wiser. Anyhow, my mom, her name was Rebecca, she said I needed to have the blessing also, not just the birthright. See, my mom, she kind of knew how to get her way too. I might have learned some of my schemings from Mom. So anyhow, she said that God had told her when we were in her womb that the elder would serve the younger. That would be Mom. And so she said, you need to have the birthright and the blessing. So one day, Mom overheard Dad tell Esau, go and hunt, kill some venison and prepare it for me, and I will give you the blessing. So we whipped into action. We prepared an imitation meal. And then I dressed up like my brother to go get the blessing. It was touch and go at first because I couldn't really disguise my voice. But in the end, Dad gave me the blessing. What can I say? I'm good at what I do. Deception. Lying. You know, my name, Jacob, means supplanter, deceiver. So we pulled it off. There was just one little problem. When Esau found out about it, he was determined he was going to kill me, which was a direct threat to my health. I think he would have pulled it off, too, had not Mom intervened and said to Dad, you know, we need to send Jacob away back to the homeland to find a wife, and we need to do it pronto. See, oftentimes my mouth got me in places only my feet could get me out. So I had to run. On the way back to Haran, weird thing happened. I was sleeping, and I had this weird dream. It might have been because I was sleeping on rocks, but there were these angels, and they were ascending and descending back and forth to heaven. And then this voice said, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac. I'm thinking, God of both? Anyhow, he said, I will give you great descendants, and I will bless you, and I will be with you. It was really kind of a scary thing. And so when I woke up the next morning, I made this rash vow, and I said that I would serve this God of Isaac and honor him and even give tithes to him. You know, I'm a wheeler and dealer, so I'm trying to wheel and deal with God. Well, anyhow, when I got to Haran, the most wonderful thing, I met the girl of my dreams. Her name was Rachel, and I fell in love with her the first time I saw her. Now, her dad happened to be my Uncle Laban, and he said I could marry her if I would work 7 years for him as a shepherd. Well, I didn't even mind. I mean, I was so in love, those 7 years just seemed to fly by. Well, wedding feasts are a pretty big deal. It came time for the wedding, and we partied hardy. We sang, we drank wine. We danced, and we drank wine. And we laughed, and we drank wine. We celebrated, we had some more wine. Now, I'm not saying overdid it, but when I woke up the next morning, it wasn't Rachel lying beside me. It was her older sister, Leah. Okay, overdid it. Now, Leah was a nice enough gal, but compared to Rachel, she was a cow. Here, I'd worked 7 years for the girl of my dreams, and I'd been swindled, bamboozled. I had been deceived. Me, the master schemer, had been out-schemed. I guess what goes around comes around. You live by lying, and cheating, and deceiving. Comes back to bite you on your back of your lap. Well, Laban agreed that I could also have Rachel as my wife after I fulfilled my marriage week with Leah. Oh, but one other thing, I had to work 7 more years as his shepherd. Those years didn't fly by so fast. I determined I was going to get even. No schemer would out-scheme me. Who do you think he was messing with? I'm Jacob. So I came up with a plan. And it was brilliant, if I do say so myself. I told Laban, Laban, we've got to find a way of determining whose flock is whose. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you all the pure white sheep, and I'll take all the speckled and the blemished and the spotted ones. And then I manipulated the breeding. Because I didn't know hunting and fishing, but sheep I knew. So after several years, my flock was large, strong. His was small and weak. Now, Laban began to notice it too, and I noticed his countenance toward me was not so good. So once again, my mouth had got me where only my feet could get me out of, so I ran. Well, it's not easy running with flocks and herds and servants and children and wives. And we got a good jump on him, but after 10 days, Laban caught up. He was livid. This time he was mad. He said he determined to wipe out the whole lot of us, but he'd had a dream the night before where, and these are his words, the God of Isaac had said to him, "Don't do any harm to Jacob." Reminded me of my Latter-day Saint experience with this God of Isaac. Where the angels went up and down the ladders? And that same God had spoken to me, and I had promised him, if he'd get me out of this mess, I'd do all this stuff. And he had blessed me. I had flocks and herds and family. It began to dawn on me that I really wasn't running from Laban. I wasn't really running from Esau. I've been running from God all my life. We think we're running from an angry brother. We think we're running to a beautiful wife. We think we're running from a poor job, or we're running to riches and wealth. But in reality, we're just avoiding God. We can find love and joy and peace, security in other relationships and material things. They can only be found in one place. We avoid it. Well, there was one other weird thing about this whole Laban thing. He was really irate because somebody had stolen his idols. And that kind of ticked me off because I knew I hadn't taken them. And he never did find them. And then I found out Rachel had stolen them. My sweet, charming, loving Rachel. A thief. Where had she learned such thievery? Her Prince Charming that she lived with had taught her lying and deception and cheating. Prince Charming taught her focus on the material. What goes around comes around. Years later, two of my sons, Simeon and Levi, would wipe out a whole tribe of males because they defiled their sister. They did it through lying and deception. I really had nothing to do with it, but the blood was on my hands because they had learned their lying and deception from their dad, the master deceiver. What goes around comes around. Well, it wasn't long later before I met this God of Isaac, who more and more did not seem to be such an oaf. You see, I knew I couldn't go back to Iran because my uncle Laban was furious, and I was about ready to meet my brother who had vowed to kill me years before. It was a pretty sleepless night. I tossed and turned. I wrestled with God. I mean, I literally wrestled with God. And in fact, the story is found right here in Scripture. You can read it with me if you want to. It's in Genesis 32. And it describes what happened that night, that sleepless night. Listen to this. So, Jacob, that would be me, was left alone. And a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw he could not overcome me, he touched the socket of my hip, so that my hip was wrenched. And as he wrestled with me, then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But I replied, "I will not let you go till you bless me." The man asked, "What is your name?" "Jacob," I answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome." "Jacob," I said, "please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" And he blessed me there. So I called the name of the place Peniel, because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. The next morning I got up and I passed by Penuel, and I was limping because he had touched my hip. You'll notice in the wrestling match that at first I was prevailing. I was winning. I wouldn't let go till he blessed me. The whole wrestling match turned on one question. What is your name? It was like a flood of guilt flooded my soul as I finally confessed to God who I was. I said, "My name's Jacob. I'm a liar. I'm a deceiver. I'm a cheater. I've done that all my life long. I conned my brother. And of his birthright, I lied to my dad and I stole the blessing. I'm a liar, a deceiver, a cheater. I've taught my family to do the same thing. It's always been about me and what I wanted. Me being first. Nothing was going to stand in the way. My name's Jacob. I've been the fool. I deserve your punishment. My name is Jacob, deceiver." But instead of punishing me, he blessed me. The man said, "No longer will you be called Jacob, deceiver, but Israel, power with God and with men." I asked him his name, but he wouldn't tell me. Then he was gone. And I realized I had met the God of Isaac. And he touched me. And I yet, to this day, walk with a limp in dependence upon God. My name is Jacob, but now it's Israel. Now I have power with God and with men. I met the living God and lived to tell about it. Well, I wish I could tell you things were different right away. But I resorted to my scheming ways because the next day I sent a bribe to my brother Esau, flocks and herds, so he wouldn't kill me when I met him. It was hard for me to imagine that God would bless me. It was hard for me to receive that. All my scheming was for naught, because when I met with Esau, we hugged and we kissed and we cried. There's some kind of bond between twins, and it had been renewed. And then I went to meet Dad, who I thought had been an oath, but no more. I cannot share with you that meeting, it's too emotional, but all of a sudden we had a connection we never had before. Now I knew the God of Isaac. There was this love relationship. I wonder how many men come to the end of their life and say, I wish I'd have known God like Dad knew God. Well, after that, things were different. I did have power with God and with man. In fact, one day I met the then-known ruler of the world. His name was Pharaoh, and my son Joseph was his right-hand man. Well, that's a whole different story. Maybe one day Joseph will come and tell it to you. If he does, you'll be surprised that he looks just like me. Anyhow, when I met Pharaoh, guess what I did? I blessed him. And doesn't the greater bless the lesser? I had power with God and with men. And then I blessed my grandsons, Manasseh and Ephraim, Joseph's sons. And when I did, I crossed my hands so I would bless the lesser more than the older. And Joseph tried to correct me, but I knew what I was doing. And I prayed a prayer when I blessed these men. You can find it in Genesis 48. This is my prayer of blessing. This was what was declared the greatest act of my life. Genesis 48 says, then blessed. And I said, may the God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, and the angel who delivered me from all harm, that angel I wrestled with, he delivered me. May he, that angel, bless these boys. May they be called by my name, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they increase greatly upon the earth. I prayed that angel, whom I think you know who is, bless the boys. I pray that they would have an experience like I had, in which they would be touched by God and never be the same. That was my prayer for them. And that's my prayer for you. That you be touched by God and never be the same again. There are three kinds of people in the room this morning. Some of you are running. Oh, you may be wearing high heels or boots, Oxfords. But you might as well be wearing Nikes because you're running. You might be thinking you're running from troubles or pain or heartache. You might think you'll be running to riches and fame and wealth. But in reality, you're running from God. And I pray you run smack dab in. Some of you here are wrestling. Some running, some wrestling. I don't know what you're wrestling over. Maybe you're wrestling over a decision God wants you to make, a relationship He wants you in, a relationship He wants you out, an addiction, a habit, a problem. Maybe you're wrestling with a sin you need to confess, someone you need to get right with. Maybe you're wrestling with a calling of service God has in your life. I encourage you to prevail. Paul in the New Testament describes this type of wrestling. He says, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. But most Christians could stop with the first three words. We wrestle not. We don't get along with God. We don't wrestle over the major issues. We don't ask what He wants to do with our life. Funny thing about this wrestling match, unless you lose, but if you lose, you win. Because what you really need to do is surrender everything to God. Say it's all yours. So, some of you are running. Some of you are wrestling. Some of you are limping. Because you've been touched by the God of Isaac. You walk in dependence upon Him. That is the best place. May the God of Abraham, may the God of Isaac, may the God of Jacob bless you. And now comes the invitation. This hasn't really been preaching in the general sense of preaching, but there has been a message. Some of you here today might be running from God, and you need to stop running. You're running from this, and you're running after that, and you're trying to find meaning and fulfillment and purpose and all these things, and you need to run correctly into the arms of God who loves you and forgives you. Some of you here are wrestling over something. I don't know what it is. Something He wants you to do, something He wants you to stop doing, something that He wants you to forgive yourself or forgive others. But you're wrestling. You're struggling. In a moment, I'm going to have our pastors limp up here because they've also been touched by this God of Isaac. We're going to stand here to greet you as we give our invitation. If you're running and want to stop running, now's the time to come to God. If you're wrestling with something, maybe it's a decision and you need prayer. Maybe it's even, what do I do with my life? Or where do I go to church or whatever? We invite you to come. Let's pray with you. Let's stand together. I'm going to lead in prayer, and we're going to sing, I Surrender All, because that's what we need to do when we wrestle with God. We need to say, God, it's yours. I give it to you, lock, stock, and barrel. I run to your arms. I confess my sin. I give my heart and my life to you. Forgive me, cleanse me, save me. So let's bow for prayer. Pastors to come. We'll give our invitation. God, we thank you for the story of Jacob. How he realized at the end of his life that he'd lived by deception and lying, and he was tired of it, and it got him nowhere. Until he met you, God of Isaac, God of Abraham. God, if there are people here this morning that are running from you and need to run into your arms, may they come this morning and surrender their life to Jesus Christ. For those here this morning that are wrestling with something and need prayer, may they come so we can pray with them about finding and doing God's will. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Will you come as we sing? I surrender.
All
thank you for your kind attention this morning. I realized halfway through my presentation, Jacob probably didn't wear a Fitbit. I know his mustache didn't keep falling down, but you were patient. There was a lesson. There was a message. I hope you'll take heed to it. And I do hope that in your lifetime you have some wrestling matches with God. When you get down and say, God, I need to know. We need to find this out. We need to settle this. And you'll realize when you surrender, He has the path for the answer. Don't forget that in 2 weeks is our annual meeting. And we'll be presenting budget and doing other things after the service. So kind of mark your calendar for that. Praying for the whole process, the select committees and all of that. So be praying for that. Well, I hope you had a Merry Christmas and we got a new 2016 coming up. I pray you have a prosperous new year. Let's bow together in prayer. Troy, would you lead us as we pray?
Our Father, we thank you for the day that you've given us, for the opportunities that it has held and will hold for us. May we recognize you as the God of our day. May we be willing, Father, to be sensitive to your leadership, to your direction in our lives. Thank you for the message that's been delivered. May it find root in our hearts to grow and to develop, to flourish and to bear fruit. We ask your blessing upon each and to go our individual ways and give you thanks for salvation in Jesus Christ our Lord, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Don't forget, next Sunday is confidence, we'll have a dinner, so bring lots of food for me.
Cute robe.
Thank you. Excellent coffee. Thank you. Found that neck and build room. Bunch of I lost all mine. Yeah, I know it does. Yeah. You know, it's certainly costing me. This is just one of them that I found. Because I've lost all mine.
What is Christmas play? What is Christmas play?
Today.